Revenge films.
My sister-in-law, Blair, is getting married. She was talking with her mom, Claire, about the wedding. They were counting the number of guests. Dad, me, your brother, Alex, Bob, and Grandma. So 6 on our side.
What about Allie?
Huh? She's not family.
That's true. She's not even related to us. It'll save us some money.
She said as she crunched some numbers on the calculator. I'm fine with that, but Alex won't be there either, so... What? Why? Because he's only 2 years old. I gotta look after him. Claire didn't seem to like my tone. Give him to me. I'll look after him. He could spend the night here tonight. No. She loved my son, and I was grateful for that, but she was so unreliable. You don't have to change his diapers so often. It's a waste of money. And she always offered to change his diapers, but she never did it properly. At home, I combined breastfeeding with formula. I'll make some milk for him. But she doesn't even measure the formula when she makes it. You gotta measure the amount, I said to her. Oh, stop worrying. You don't measure every grain of salt when you cook, right? It's the same thing. It's fine. She was always like this. It tasted different every time. And my son didn't like that. He would end up crying, and she always blamed me for everything. You're raising him wrong! Ugh! Then she gets in a bad mood. I couldn't trust her with my son, not even for a day. Spend the night? No way, absolutely not. Plus, what they said about me kind of pissed me off. So I went into the next room and told John, my husband, what happened. He flipped out.
Fine, if Allie isn't going, I'm not going either,
He said. Blair started crying.
You're gonna abandon your family for her? My boyfriend's family is really strict. You gotta come, please.
She said. Then she turned to me and said,
You're terrible. You don't want me to be happy. You're not part of this family. Get out.
Yeah, Allie, apologize to her now. For some reason, I was the bad guy now. How did that happen? I didn't have time for this. John, you can go. I gotta look after Alex, so I'm sure they'll understand. But he kept saying he wasn't gonna go. Stop acting childish. You want your sister to get married or not? This is our chance to get rid of her. Her room is a mess and she can't cook anything. She can't even do laundry. This is her last chance to get married. She doesn't even have a stable job. You gotta help her, I said. Blair started yelling at me. But everything I said was true. She lived with her parents, so she never did anything around the house. And to make things worse, she couldn't clean up after herself. Every time I visit their house with my son, it's a mess, especially her room. Dirty dishes, dirty clothes, and garbage all over the floor. Sometimes her door is open and I get to see inside. It's pretty crazy to say the least. So, she can yell at me all she wants, but it's all true. Then, a few days later, I got a call from Blair's fiance's mother. She asked me why I wasn't attending the wedding. Looks like Blair went crying to her fiance, so his mother decided to talk to me directly. She was quite the character. She was so condescending. I hated her right from the start. You better have a good explanation for this. This is our first son we're talking about. Everyone needs to be at his wedding. If you want to know, ask Blair. That's all I can tell you. The next day, at Blair's house, things got out of control. Turns out my husband told everyone everything. I see. You're not the person I thought you were. said Blair's fiance's mother, to which Claire said, "What did you say?" Then they started fighting. Blair went crying to her fiance again, but
I had no idea. I'm disappointed in you. Show me your room.
Blair tried to stop him, but he went in anyways. He seemed shocked. He was speechless. I don't blame him though. It took me a while to get used to it. And even though it was all her fault,
It's all their fault!
Stop blaming others and learn to take responsibility.
everyone was fighting everyone. It was a mess. The marriage got postponed. But they said some horrible things about each other. I'm not sure if they'll ever be able to make peace. Anyways, it's a miracle that the marriage didn't get called off entirely. To be frank, I think Blair gets it from her mother. Their entire house was pretty dirty, so... She says she cleans, but it doesn't really look like it. Blair tried talking to her fiancé after that, but...
You can always learn to cook, but after seeing that room, I can't marry you unless you fix that.
He was also disappointed about what she said about me, how I was not family.
If you treat your brother's wife like that, I don't know. I'm not sure if I can be with you.
When my husband talked to her, she didn't listen, but this time she did. A few days later, she called me around midnight.
I'm sorry about everything. I will try to become a better person.
It was late at night, and I was half asleep, so at first, I thought I was dreaming or something. But she sounded pretty serious. I guess her fiancé's words really got to her.
You realize what you said to your sister-in-law? Think about it. If you can't understand that, then I really can't be with you.
Apologizing is never easy. It takes a lot of courage. So, I was really proud of her for what she did. It's not like I had a grudge against her, so I said okay and wished her luck. I hope things work out for her. But her mother-in-law was quite the character, so I hope she goes easy on her.
My friend Jack encountered one hell of an incident at an after-party for a wedding. He was invited as one of the groom's friends. The wedding ceremony went smoothly with a touching finale and all. After the reception, they had a venue rented out for the night to have an after-party, but the bride did something unforgettable there. The relatives didn't come to the after-party. It was just a bunch of friends from both sides. The bride, Karen, was a very friendly person and had many friends, both guys and girls. As soon as the after-party started, all of her friends gathered around her to wish her good luck. One of Karen's girlfriends came over and locked shoulders. Congratulations, Karen. Let's take a picture. Thanks. Yeah, let's do it. They looked excited as they took pictures together. So far, so good. After that, some of her guy friends also came over.
Nice! Take some pictures with us next, Karen.
One of the guys sat close next to her and started putting his hands around her shoulders and waist and touched his cheeks to hers. And they started taking pictures together. Karen didn't seem to mind at all, though. Oh my gosh, look at us! We're such a cute couple! This was just everyday business to Karen. They just continued to flirt like it was nothing. The groom, Brad, seemed bothered and speechless. All of the friends from Brad's side were taken aback as well. Brad even went and warned Karen a couple times nicely.
Are you sure you guys are just friends? Hey now, I think you're having too much fun.
But Karen's response was so ignorant. Of course, he's just a friend. Don't worry. This is how we always are. She didn't seem worried about it at all and continued to flirt with her other guy friends as well. As Karen's side got louder, bolder, and edgier, Brad's side got quieter and more awkward. Then finally, the guy with short brown hair started yelling.
All right, guys, you ready for this? I'm gonna give Karen her last kiss before getting married.
I guess they were planning on turning in their papers after the wedding. Karen's side seemed to get even more excited after this announcement.
About time.
They started rooting and cheering for them. Brad couldn't stand by and just let this slide and was shaking his hands trying to make Karen stop. But Karen must have been drunk. Okay, let's do it. She didn't even think twice. She walked over to the guy and grabbed his face with both hands and pulled him in and pecked him on his lips. After seeing this, Karen's side got even more heated up.
French, French.
They cheered for more. Then Karen looked at everyone else while her lips were still on the other guy's, winked, and started French kissing the guy.
Whoa, yeah! Nice. Now that's how you French kiss.
As Karen's side of the room started peeking out in excitement, Brad's side completely froze up. Brad was so shocked and just stood there like someone had sucked the life out of him. This was when Jack understood that this wasn't going to end well. After that, the guy who had just been kissing Karen came up to Brad with a mic in his hand.
What about a speech from the groom?
Brad's voice was shaking as he picked up the microphone.
I'd like to apologize to all of you who attended today. Your celebration gifts will be sent back to you later.
After saying that, he dragged himself out of the venue without saying another word.
Yeah, let's get out of here too. Yeah, that was disgusting.
All of Brad's friends followed with disgusted looks on their faces. My friend Jack was one of the last ones to leave. He told me that when he looked back, all of Karen's friends just looked confused. A few days later, things went terribly south. A long story short, their marriage was called off. After leaving that scandalous after-party, Brad had immediately called Karen's parents up and told them that he was calling off the marriage. Karen's parents had no idea what had happened.
What do you mean? Did something happen between you and Karen? You better have a good reason to be saying that right after your wedding. That's just crazy.
Even Karen argued back. Yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. You ruined the after party. Everyone came back and was having a great time, but you had to make that stupid announcement in front of everyone. You ruined it for everyone. Karen and her parents acted like nothing wrong had happened over the phone.
That's right, Brad. If you're trying to make up random excuses to call off the marriage, you better be prepared for a fight. The reason is simple, sir. Your daughter's behavior at the after party completely disillusioned me. Huh? What do you mean? She was letting her guy friends touch her, and she flirted and kissed her guy friends in front of me like it was nothing. Ah, come on. I'm sure it wasn't even that bad. That's pretty much a greeting in other countries. Are you seriously making a big deal out of something like this?
I've had enough. I can't trust my daughter with a man of such small caliber anyways. We'll be charging you for alimony over this. Go ahead. Have your divorce or whatever. Karen's parents continue to spit some pretty aggressive remarks at Brad.
I'm sorry to tell you that it'll be I who will be filing for alimony. I'll be asking for a full payment of the wedding and all costs involved, and alimony for the canceled marriage due to Karen's irresponsible actions.
When Brad argued back, Karen's father seemed furious.
What did you say, asshole?
But Brad just hung up on them. Still furious, Karen's parents came with Karen directly to Brad's parents' house. They continued to claim innocence.
You better have some proof to show us if you're going to accuse our daughter like this. As far as we're concerned, Karen was just giving her friend a friendly greeting. How is that irresponsible behavior?
You're just overreacting, aren't you? This is your last chance to apologize to us. Karen stood there with her arms crossed. What an overreaction! But for better or for worse, one of Brad's friends had been filming the entire after party. Brad had borrowed the camera in advance and showed Karen's parents the footage. Their expressions changed the moment they saw it.
This is...
Wait, Karen? What the hell are you doing? They both went pale and immediately changed their attitudes towards Brad.
I see now what you meant by irresponsible behavior. We are so sorry for what Karen did to you.
I can't believe that our daughter would do such a thing. I'm lost for words. They were now convinced that their daughter was in the wrong and repeatedly apologized. Karen's father turned to her.
You slut! What have you done?
He slapped her in the face.
Brad and his parents tried to stop him, but it was too late.
Karen's face was red and swollen where she had been hit. Her parents yelled at her for a while, and now that they had realized the severity of the situation, they continuously apologized to Brad. I heard rumors that they went back later as a family to beg for forgiveness on their knees. But, of course, Brad's mind was already set, and the marriage was called off as planned. As requested, Karen's parents paid the full amount for the wedding and other costs, as well as alimony. It has been months since the incident, and I hear that Karen and her parents still visit Brad often to apologize to this day. Maybe they are praying for another chance. If she wanted to marry Brad that bad, why did she do something so stupid in the first place? I will never understand.
Karen and her friends were behaving themselves until the reception party was over. They must have just exploded at the after party.
That's what Jack says. I sympathize with Brad. It must have been terrible, everything that he had to go through. Jack and I have taken this as a reminder to be careful not to lose control.
Right around when my son was born, my husband and I moved in with his parents. But his mother-in-law and his sister treated me like crap. My mother-in-law, Blair, she was the one who asked us to move in with her in the first place. She wanted to be near her grandson. And my husband was saving up for a house, so he said it would be a good way to save money. I said no, but he didn't listen. Blair's husband passed away a few years back. We didn't have to pay rent, but she told us to pay for the food and my husband agreed. Then, my husband got transferred to a different city. It was pretty far away. He just left me and our son at his mother's house. Then it started. Why can't you do anything right? He married the wrong girl. You're so lazy. Get to work.
Yeah, you're so lazy. Get to work.
My sister-in-law, Katie, joined her too. And it went on and on like this for days. I called my husband and asked him for help, but he was no use.
It's only for a little while until we have enough for our own place. Just hang in there.
So, I had no choice but to take the abuse. One day, they took my son away from me and made me do all the housework. Then when I cooked them dinner, what is this crap? You really expect me to eat this? You trying to save some money, huh? Then she threw out the food in the sink. When my son started crying, she handed him to me and said, "Take care of it. Go outside and make him stop. When he stops crying, come back in and make me something else." I couldn't take it anymore. Carrying my son, I called my husband.
Hey, she's letting us live there for free. The least you can do is cook a decent meal. Come on now.
It sounded like he wanted nothing to do with it. But we gotta watch our food budget. We're saving up for the house, so...
Then you get a job too. Think for once.
Then he hung up. Why? Why me? Why did I deserve this? I went for a walk near the river. My son was still upset. If I jump from here, it'll all be over. I went over to the fence and put my foot up. Then, my son started laughing out loud, moving all over the place. I looked around. When I looked up, I saw a bunch of clouds that looked like my late grandma. She was smiling at me. "I got your back. Don't worry." When she was around, she always comforted me. I gotta snap out of this, for Grandma's sake. All of a sudden, I was feeling okay again. My son stopped crying after that. We went to the grocery store and bought food. At home, I cooked them a real nice meal. "Not bad," said Blair. They both finished their meals. After that, I started cooking delicious meals for them every day. Soon, they stopped harassing me. Once, she even said, "I wish you'd stay here and cook for us." Yeah, but your son won't like that. "I'll have a talk with him. He's a nice kid. I'm sure he'll think about it." Let's hope so, I said with a smile on my face. Then, 6 months later...
What is this? What did you spend all this money on?
My husband was back for the weekend. He looked furious. It was time to tell him. "What do you mean? I spent it on food." I showed him all the receipts. I kept a record of all the money I spent on food. I used it all for your mother and sister. He was shocked. Truffles, crabs, eel, steak. Expensive sweets and wine. I had spent about $20,000 on food in 6 months. I took $16,000 from our savings for the house, and the rest was money my husband sent over to me while he was away. You said cook for them, so I asked them what they wanted to eat every day. His face turned blue. Oh, relax. You guys don't pay rent, so it should be fine. My husband couldn't say anything. He just sat there in silence. Then he realized.
If I keep living with them, we're gonna go bankrupt!
Then he told them he was moving out. He started packing his things. Then I handed him the divorce papers. I'm leaving you. Sign these.
What is this? Stop joking around!
I'm not kidding. I already got a lawyer and everything. If you want to talk, talk to him. Then I took my son and went to live with my parents. I had Blair and Katie on tape. I always kept a voice recorder with me. Oh, and I also recorded their conversation with my husband as well. That's why I was calling you so many times, even though all you did was call me names. I also kept a record of everything on paper. My mom told me to do so. I was gonna wait until our savings were gone, but whatever. I sent over the recordings to my lawyer, and he sent him all the legal documents. He barely had any savings left, but I sued him for damages and child support. He called me so many times saying this wasn't his fault. But that wasn't true. He called me all kinds of names too. The lawyer handled everything. The divorce went pretty smoothly. My husband kept asking my lawyer to talk to me about giving him a second chance. He probably thought he had a shot if Blair and Katie were out of the picture, but the lawyer said,
Your wife asked you to help her many times. But did you?
He couldn't say anything back to him. Then,
Your wife probably didn't tell you this. But she once thought about ending it all by jumping into the river with her son. But then she looked up and saw her grandmother smiling at her. I think that's when she realized that she had to leave all of you.
he was shocked to hear that. I guess he had no idea. After that, he stopped bothering us. And the lawyer was right. My husband didn't help me at all. It was my grandma. I'm so glad she was watching over me. And so, after the divorce, my husband was in debt. He had no choice but to live with his mother. I hear things are pretty rough for them. As for me, my parents still worked, so I was getting by just fine. When I started living with them, I was gonna get a job, but... You deserve a little break, dear. No need to rush anything. So I decided to take it easy for a while. I got to spend a lot of time with my son, too. It wasn't easy, but I'm just glad it's all behind me. Time to move on with my life.
A few years ago, I worked with this crazy woman. She looked pretty normal, but she was insane. She stole, lied, hit people, cheated, and so on. She was just a terrible person. She used to bother me at work, saying things like, "This guy won't leave me alone. He's practically stalking me." She always made up stories like this. She even told me once that her ancestors were royalty or something. I think she had a serious problem. She just couldn't stop lying. And all kinds of weird stuff started happening when she started working here. My stuff started disappearing, things like stationery, shoes, etc. At first I didn't think much of it. You know, people lose things all the time. But it kept happening even after I started writing my name on my stuff. Something was up. I went to talk to my section chief. He didn't seem happy.
I'm sure it's nothing. You shouldn't accuse your colleagues like that.
He didn't take me seriously. He didn't do anything about it. A few days later, she asked me if she could borrow my camera. I love taking pictures in my free time. I even helped some of my colleagues who worked in public relations by taking pictures for them. I was pretty good at it. But it's not like I was a pro. I just had a really expensive camera. With this thing, anyone can take beautiful pictures. And I think she knew that. Then... Hey, my nephew has a soccer game tomorrow. I promised his parents that I'd take pictures for them, but I don't have a good camera, so can I borrow yours? I can't do that. Sorry. Please? I'll give it back right away. I said no. Sorry. Oh, come on, please. I refused. But then, while I was away, she went through my desk and took it anyways. I noticed it was missing when I came back. I panicked. As I looked around my desk, one of my colleagues walked by. He told me he saw Blair with the camera. She said that I let her borrow it. I called her right away. Oh, relax. I'll bring it back to you on Monday. She didn't even apologize. I tried talking to her, but she just hung up the phone. Then she blocked me. Monday, she took the day off. I still didn't have my camera. She didn't come on Tuesday either. Finally, on Wednesday, she showed up. When I went to my desk, my camera was on my table. Finally. But then, I noticed that the lens was cracked. The cover was missing, and there were scratches everywhere. I tried to turn it on, but nothing. I confronted her right away. Camera? What camera? You took the camera on my desk without my permission. What? No, I didn't. You can't just accuse me of something like that. Are you crazy? If it's that important to you, don't bring it to work in the first place. Not sure what happened, but this is your own fault. It's not even mine. It's the manager's. What? That's right. He wanted a better camera for public relations, so he was letting me use his camera. That thing is really expensive. She started to panic, but then... I told you I had nothing to do with it. You probably broke it. Stop trying to blame it on me. Who does that to a colleague? Who said anything about breaking it? How did you know it was broken, huh? I never said that. I got her now. I probably should have kept it in a more secure place, but still. After we went to see the manager and apologized, I told him everything that happened and promised him that we would pay for it. But then... She should have taken better care of it. It's all her fault. She should pay for it herself. I wanted to smack her in the face, but the manager said,
It's not your fault, guys. Don't worry about it.
He seemed upset, but he let us both off the hook. We left his room and walked back to our desk. You got lucky back there. But the next day, the manager called her to his office again. Our section chief got called in as well. I had no idea what was going on. Then, they stopped showing up at work. They got fired. My colleague told me what happened. She doesn't even have a nephew. She was having an affair with the section chief. He's trying to get a divorce. Apparently, he won't even let his wife come to his son's soccer game. Instead, he invited Blair. I couldn't believe it. My boss was having an affair with Blair? Wow. So, how did the manager find out? He found an SD card in the camera. It was full of pictures from the soccer game. He even found their sex tape on it. His camera had 2 SD card slots. Blair took out one of them, copied the data, deleted them, and put them back in. Little did she know, the second slot was a backup slot that stored all the data. At first, she tried to play the victim's card. She told him that the section chief raped her. But the sex tape on the camera said otherwise. She still refused to admit it, but that didn't matter. He had more than enough evidence against her. She was fired on the spot. Many people knew about the bad things she did, but Blair threatened them with violence, telling them to keep their mouth shut. She even dislocated someone's shoulders once. And the section chief knew about her bad deeds too, but couldn't say anything because she was his mistress. Needless to say, he got fired as well. Our company had a zero-tolerance policy towards having affairs. As for the camera, Blair's parents ended up paying for it. Then, after they got fired, people started pressing charges. Apparently, she stole from a lot of people. A few days later, her parents came to the company to apologize to everyone. They promised to pay for everything. They begged them to drop the charges. Some people dropped the charges, but they couldn't convince everyone. As a result, Blair ended up going to jail. Apparently, she's been stealing since she was in high school. She was once married, but she couldn't stop stealing. After getting caught more than 5 times, her husband left her. And this time, she got sent straight to prison. No parole. She won't be coming out for a few years. I guess her parents knew that this was going to happen if it went to trial. That's why they were so desperate. A year and a half later, Blair showed up at work as if nothing happened. I couldn't believe it. She said she wanted a job. Needless to say, she didn't get past the front door. Everyone in the lobby saw her, but nobody said anything to her. The manager was there too. He asked her to leave, but she was crazy. She said she wasn't leaving until she got a job. They finally called the cops on her, and she got arrested again. She never came back after that. Finally, peace at last. Rumor has it she went back to prison, but who knows? Whatever, as long as I don't have to see her again.
That was back when I used to work at the karaoke bar on the night shift. On that day, because it was the day before the national holiday, we were busy with many customers. Welcome! As I welcomed the customers as usual, right after around midnight, there came in a young man in his teens, Chad. He had dyed blonde hair and piercings all over his face. Well, I was used to this because there were many customers like this at a karaoke bar. 4 people. You're open, right? You're only 1 person right now, I assume? If 3 people are coming later, that should be fine. That's what I mean. Let me in, quickly. While getting irritated at this man's terrible attitude, I led him to a room under the free time all-you-can-drink night pack. After a few minutes, Chad's friends came in. It was obvious they were his friends. A young man with red hair and piercings, Mark, and 2 young women entered the store. Mark said, "I'll go in because I heard A's already here." When he tried to do us, I had to stop him right away. "I'm sorry, but may I confirm the ages of the 2 customers behind you?" At the karaoke bar that I work at, under the prefectural ordinance, we didn't allow people under the age of 18 to enter the store after 11 p.m. Of course, children were not allowed to enter the store, and by checking the ages of people who looked like high schoolers, we had the privilege to refuse some customers. Huh? We don't have anything like that. Come on. I'm sorry, but we don't allow customers under the age of 18 to enter the store at this time. I don't care about that. Weren't you trained to put customers first? Age doesn't matter, does it? We have strict rules under the prefectural ordinance of juvenile protection. So, I'm saying I don't care. You should just keep your mouth shut, you annoying jerk. B tried to ignore me and got into the room. But if I had let them into the store knowing that they were high schoolers, under the prefectural ordinance of juvenile protection, we might be forced to close our store at worst cases. Thus, there was no way I could ignore this. While we were having an argument, A came out of the room out of impatience waiting for his friends. What are you doing? We're telling you they're over 18, so there's no problem. Then can you tell me the 2 ladies' date of birth? Even if you can say someone's birthday and month, it isn't easy to say someone's year of birth. As expected, the young ladies whispered to each other and said their birth dates.
Year blank in blank.
As I thought. People like this panic on the spot when asked suddenly and can't calculate the year that would make them over 18. Then that means you're 17?
Oh.
A started yelling, realizing they were exposed. Quit talking, you jerk! I'm gonna beat you up if you keep this up. Ugh! A started kicking the things around him and messed up the place. Then B, who saw the turn of events, "Isn't he annoying? Let's beat him up," is what he said. The girls behind them said stop. But the 2 dumbasses started feeling good about themselves, and their actions escalated. "You'd regret it if you stop us." Saying that, Mark slammed my glasses onto the floor and broke them. I just bought those new design fit glasses recently, and they were an expensive pair with multifaceted functions. I couldn't hold in my anger anymore. "Hey, why are you guys here?" When I asked them that in an angry voice, the 2 dumbasses suddenly started getting nervous. I was trying to be nice to them at first because they were a customer, But in reality, I was a 190 centimeter giant with scary eyes. Nothing to brag about though. Even though I'm just innocently looking at something, people think I'm glaring. Of course, I wore glasses because I had bad eyesight, but it was also an important item of mine to soften the look of my sharp eyes. After scaring them with my glare, Mark said, "Tch, it was a waste of time. Let's go," and tried to go home. So I said, "You haven't paid for it yet." "Huh? We didn't even use the booth." The first customer said he would use the store with 4 people, so I had to prepare a room for that amount of people. Then Chad said, "But we didn't sing. We didn't use the room." No matter whether you use the room or not, I had to turn down other customers who came in after you. And this room comes with free time all-you-can-drink pack. It's the day before the national holiday, so it's a little more expensive than usual, but that would be $125 altogether. "Huh? Quit fooling around. We're going home." After saying that, the dumbasses tried to get into the elevator. I ran after them right away and pressed the button so that the elevator door won't close. "Hey, what are you doing? Don't think you can go home without paying. Kicking things around and breaking my glasses." Saying that, I called the police with my phone. The dumbasses got off the elevator and tried to go down using the stairs. But unfortunately, they couldn't get to the staircase without getting past me. Of course, I had no intention in letting them go. Luckily, the police department was close by. Thus, they would get here in just a few minutes after the call. It seemed like these dumbasses knew that too. "Fine, we'll pay for it, so let us go!" And started to get their wallets out. But after all that terrible attitude plus the fact that they broke my glasses, there was no way I would let them go. "That's too late. Just wait a little bit more until the police come, okay?" I gave a slight grin. After a while, the police came and I explained what happened. The dumbasses paid for the room and were taken away in the police car. I started cleaning the mess on the floor. After that, when the dumbasses were investigated at the police office, they found out that they had been drinking as well as drunk driving. I found footage from our shop surveillance camera of Chad driving the car, so I handed it to the police. They must have paid a large fine since they were drunk driving. At the end, the police investigated the schools that both the boys and girls went to, and although they weren't suspended, I heard they were given a big punishment. Well, I guess it was better this time that the girls were not as bad as the boys. If the girls had a big attitude too, it would have been way more tiring. The girls this time tried to stop the 2 boys, but girls with big attitudes would probably make matters worse, and would have made a bigger problem. Anyway, although I thought this was the end of the incident, the parents of the dumbasses came to the store thereafter. The mother stormed in with a threatening attitude.
Because of you, my child was arrested. He was expelled from university. Do something!
She was very upset. The dumbass brought in an underage girl while drinking, caused a commotion in the store, and even broke my glasses. What is she saying? So a dumbass's mother is of course a dumbass herself. If you want, I can sue them for damage of property. You know, my friend is a lawyer actually. I have 100% confidence that I will win. But what would you like to do? After that, she went home with a rolled up back. The only thing that made things better was that the father was a decent man. After that, the father heard what had happened from the police and came to the store to apologize. He brought money in an envelope for the compensation of my broken glasses. There are really many types of customers who come to the karaoke bar at midnight. Many come after drinking at a different store, so there are many customers who are drunk, whom I cannot understand what they are saying, and some who cause a commotion. Still, I thought from the bottom of my heart that I didn't want to get involved with something like this ever again. Really, what a troublesome incident that was.
I met a lunatic mom at the supermarket. After shopping for groceries, I went to the parking lot and unlocked my bike. I put my tote bag into the basket and hooked my grocery bag onto the handle. Then suddenly, a little kid snatched my grocery bag and ran away. However, he couldn't hold the heavy bag for long and fell right onto his stomach and started crying at the spot. It was a bag of a dozen cans of beer and lots of food. Although a boy, it was obvious that a young kid like him would fall onto the ground. After a little while, his mother came towards us along with her older son. Then suddenly she shouted at me, saying,
"You pushed my child and injured him, didn't you?"
"I didn't push him. He took my grocery bag from my bicycle and fell on his own as he was running away.
There's no way a kid would do such a risky thing like that. Don't blame him like that. Fine, I'll go get the store staff.
As she said that, she left the two kids with me and went into the store. It's impossible to communicate with her. I want to go home. As I thought that to myself, the other kid opened the bag that I left on the ground and started to take out the computer game I had inside.
Ooh, Lucky. I want this too.
Hey, you can't go touching other people's things like that! Right as I took the computer game away from the kid, a middle-aged store worker and security guard came out.
What exactly happened? This man was violent towards my child and took away his computer game.
Wait, what? What the hell are you saying?
What an attitude! And after you did such a thing to a little child.
We would like to hear what happened at the office, if possible. I have many things to say too, so I don't mind. Then please, come this way. I thought lunatic moms usually scream and yell in front of a large audience and take things from others using her privilege. But I was wrong. She was probably scheming to win an unreasonable conversation with me and blame me for everything that happened. After we got to the office, the store worker spoke first.
How could you take away a child's toy after hitting him?
She questioned me. I thought I should let them talk as much as they wanted first, and say my objection later, and listen to the lunatic mom's claim.
He suddenly pushed my kid onto the floor and took away his brother's game toy. And so my child was injured. Pay for the compensation.
When the security guard checked the child's body, he had no injuries at all. I listened, thinking a decent parent would state that. But the problem accelerated from here.
There's no way a middle-aged man like you could afford such a fashionable bicycle like that. It's obvious he stole that bike. He's a habitual thief. Give me that bicycle to me as an apology.
What? When you just stated that I stole his bike? So the situation continued like this. And because the conversation was so unreasonable, I was just in shock and awe that there came a day I would get involved with a real lunatic mom. And to brag, my bicycle cost around $2,000 and was a costly, fashionable bicycle that could be folded compactly too. It was the store worker who took the lunatic mom's words seriously.
A habitual thief? We have to report him to the police, quick!
She said as she panicked. Then the security guard said, Mrs. Baker, we have to hear the other side of the story too, shouldn't we? Sir, it seems like you have a lot to say. Please tell us. I was relieved that someone decent was here in the room. I explained what happened, saying that the two kids snatched my grocery bag and tote bag, and how I only took my own computer game back. Then the lunatic mom frowned and said,
Huh? That tote bag was ours to begin with. There was no way you would own a computer game anyways. And the grocery bag is ours too. Give it back, you thief!
I think she spotted the pack of meat from my alone barbecue that I placed on top of the grocery bag so that it wouldn't get crushed.
I will report you to the police right now!
Mrs. Baker, we shouldn't jump to conclusions so quickly. I was so grateful to the security guard and had probably thanked him 100 times in my head. But there was no way I could keep taking this kind security guard's time with such nonsense. Thus, I began my counterattack. That computer game is mine. It's no mistake. As evidence, I have my name written down on the back of the lid and the game itself. This is my driver's license. Please, check it. The store worker looked at it with suspicious eyes. To continue, that tote bag is mine as well. See, it has my name there too, right? As I showed it to the store worker, she gave a small giggle.
But to think a grown man like you owns a childish computer game like this, huh?
She laughed as she made fun of me. Well, sorry a grown man like me owns a computer game. Firstly, Mrs. Baker, what's wrong with your attitude? If you checked the receipt, it would have been very easy to confirm what I had bought. Maybe the first half of this mom's claim was decent, but the second half was just crazy. The police? You're joking!
Well, I mean, you do kind of look like a criminal.
As the store worker said, I do actually have a criminal's face. That's why I chose to be well-mannered usually. But because I shouted previously, I felt slight hate for myself. After a little while, the security guard called the owner of the store, and he came running into the office. I'm very sorry for the trouble Mrs. Baker caused, he passionately apologized. Well, it is true that the situation caused misunderstanding, so I do understand her attitude, but Mrs. Baker, you made me the criminal without hearing me out, and you're not going to apologize? Then the store worker made a troubled face as she said,
I'm sorry about what I did.
although she apologized, I wasn't convinced. You call that an apology? Quit fooling around! I lost my cool.
I deeply apologize. I'm sorry.
She finally meant it as she apologized to me. It said on her name tag that she was an employee here, so I guessed she wasn't just a part-time worker. I worried a bit about the store she worked at, but there was no way I would come again, so I decided not to care. Our focus was on Mrs. Baker for most of the time, but that was because the lunatic mom just sat on her chair as she mumbled,
I'm finished. I'm finished.
and we couldn't hold a decent conversation with her. After our conversation with the store owner settled, we looked to see the lunatic mom had fallen unconscious. At the end, she was taken to the hospital on the ambulance. After that, the store owner apologized to me again and tried to give my gift certificates that I could use at the store, but I refused and went home. After a while, the lunatic mom's husband came to apologize to me. I just got a call from the police and heard what happened. I am very sorry for the trouble we caused you. He apologized. I thought at first that he came to get back at me, so I was quite relieved to hear that. Although the wife was a lunatic, I was glad that the husband was a decent man. I explained the situation to the husband and let him hear the voice memo that I recorded on my phone. Then the husband said, My wife, I'm very sorry. He apologized again. As for me, I would appreciate it if I do not have to get involved with her again. However, I realized that she's quite experienced doing this, so I hope she won't continue this somewhere else. Then, the husband let out a big sigh. As you've guessed, this isn't the first time she did something like this, he said. He told me that he had warned her before that if she caused a big incident that involves the police again, he will divorce her. Thus, it was decided that they were getting a divorce this time. Back then, when the lunatic mom came to her senses and mumbled,
I'm finished.
she was probably referring to this. I guess she really didn't want to get a divorce. So badly that she lost consciousness. Then she shouldn't have done this in the first place. But the husband explained that it was kind of like a sickness, and he dropped his shoulder. Well, it seems like he's going through a lot too. I thought that as I watched the husband go home. Anyway, it was a day that made me really thank the fact that I, a middle-aged grown man, had written my name on the back of all my belongings.
My father-in-law Bob was a bad drunk. This one time, he hit me and I broke my cheekbone. Blair really wanted to leave him. My husband and I talked about living with her to protect her. Bob was a teacher. He drank once in a while, but it was nothing serious. But everything started to change when he was transferred to a different school 8 years ago. He started drinking heavily and became violent. He started abusing his wife and breaking things around the house. Turns out he was being bullied at his new school. But he couldn't tell his family, so he decided to drink himself stupid instead. He was so nice when he was sober, but when he drank, he became a completely different person. He said horrible things to his wife and hit her.
Die already! Stop leeching off of me!
He'd say to his wife. He broke things around the house too. I can't take this anymore. When he's sober, he doesn't say a word. And when he drinks, he gets so violent. And Ellie is scared of him too. She just stays in her room all the time now. And so, she came to my husband to ask for help. My husband and I started thinking of a plan to save her. One day, I went over to her house to talk about a plan. He's not home right now, so... But when I got there, he was there. He was drunk and messing up the house. I was shocked to see him like that. He was a completely different person. I told her we should call the cops. Cops? But he'll lose his job. No way. If I could call the cops, I would have done that already. She said. Then Bob noticed me.
Hey, you! What are you doing here? Who let you in? Was it you? Don't tell me you asked her to help you now!
I started recording this just in case. Then, I was gonna tell her we should leave, but then... She just showed up! I knew nothing about this! Then she pushed me in front of Bob! Blair? Then he started hitting me. He reeked of alcohol! I looked at the table and found a bottle of whiskey. Oh no, I'm screwed. I couldn't fight back. He just kept hitting me.
Why aren't you fighting back, huh? You saying I'm weak? I'll show you!
Then he grabbed the bottle and charged at me. It all happened too fast. I got knocked out on the floor. I was in a lot of pain. Luckily, the bottle missed, but he landed a good punch on my face. I hit my head on the table. I was drifting in and out of consciousness. Then he came on top of me and started touching my breasts. I was so upset. I started crying. I asked Blair to help, but... Stop resisting. Just let him do his thing. She said. I tried to fight back, but I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't do anything back to him.
I heard you can't have kids, but you got some nice boobs. Let's see if I can get you pregnant.
Then he reached for my pants. Then I felt really sick. I threw up all over the place.
Gross! What are you doing?
He jumped off of me. That's disgusting, said Blair. This was my chance. I crawled, because I couldn't get up, to my bag and tried to call an ambulance. You trying to call an ambulance? Aren't you overreacting a little? Said Blair. Then she took my phone away. That's when I passed out. I woke up in the hospital. Turns out Katie, my husband's sister, called an ambulance for me. Oh, Allie, I'm so sorry. I should have called the cops when I had the chance. I'm so sorry. She was crying. You were home? I'm sorry you had to see all that. It must have been really scary. I knew Dad was hitting you. I could hear it from my room, but I was just so scared of him. On the other hand, Blair was trying to make all kinds of excuses. I tried to call an ambulance, but she said she was fine. Liar. I took out the phone and played the recording. It was all on tape. Bob hitting me, trying to rape me. Everything Blair said to me was on there too. My husband was there too. Everyone's face turned blue when they heard the recording, including the nurse. But, I had no choice. If I called the cops, he'd lose his job. And if I called an ambulance, he would have just hit me.
What the hell is wrong with you, Mom? So you don't care what happens to others?
But she's young. She's gonna be fine. Was she serious? I wanted to yell at her, but my husband yelled at her for me.
That's it! I'm done with you! You deal with him on your own. We're not moving in with you. Get out of our lives!
Please don't leave me with him. She begged us to help her, but it was too late. My husband was so angry with her. I guess she was trying to defend herself, but still. She basically sacrificed me to save herself. So, we decided to take Katie with us and left her. As for Bob, the paramedics called the cops right away. He got arrested for assault and rape. His lawyer tried to claim that he was depressed, but it didn't work. He was sent to prison. He wasn't depressed or anything. He was just drinking to deal with his stress at work. Needless to say, he lost his teaching license. He'll never be able to teach again. 12 years later, he was released from prison. He started hitting the bottle right after. Then he beat the crap out of Blair and ran off. Blair was severely injured. We had to cut all ties with them at that point, so we only heard about it later. Who knows what Bob is up to now? But so far, the police haven't caught him. The house was now empty. Nobody knew where he was.
He's not smart enough to evade the cops for this long. Plus, he's a miserable drunk. My guess is he's already dead.
Katie was now 26. She met someone really nice and got married. I couldn't have a kid due to an illness, but Katie lived with us, so she was like my daughter. And she felt the same way about me. She even read me a touching letter at our wedding. I was so touched. I told her husband, "If you ever make her cry, I'm gonna end you." I probably shouldn't have said that, but oh well. I developed a rare allergy when I was a baby. I started having allergic reactions towards water. Bathtubs, swimming pools, forget it. Even with my own sweat and tears triggered my allergy. When I touch water, my skin turns red and I get really itchy after 15 minutes or so. The symptom lasts for about 2 hours. It was pretty painful. As a kid, I would cry for hours on end. I spent most of my life in an air-conditioned room to prevent myself from sweating. I'm 27 now, but I rarely go out. I read a lot as a kid. Today, I'm a writer. My husband, who I married a few years ago, was also a writer. He understood my condition. We lived happily together. Then, during summer, we got a call from his mother. "Hey, Allie, Alex hasn't visited me in a while. He told me he doesn't plan on coming back during summer vacation either." "It's you, isn't it? You're telling him not to come back." As I said before, I can't go outside during summer. I'm allergic to water, including my own sweat, so... Also, Alex doesn't like to go out anyways, so... "That's not true! He loves to play baseball!" You're talking about when he was a kid, right? "And another thing, this water allergy you got, I've never heard of that." I get it, it's a pretty rare allergy, but it's real. "It's probably not even real. You were never good at swimming, right? You probably made it all up just so you could avoid things you don't like. Back in the day, kids were tough. Nobody had allergies. But now look at it. Everyone's so weak and allergic to everything." I'm not making it up. "Fine, let me pour water on you and show me. Then I'll believe you." "Alex doesn't like the heat, so fine. You don't have to come visit me during summer, but you better come for Christmas. My daughter is coming home too, so you two better be there." Then she hung up on me. I was exhausted. I told my husband about it when he came home.
What's wrong with her? She knows nothing about allergies. Just ignore her from now on.
But still, I didn't want to make things awkward, so I decided to visit her for Christmas. Christmas Day. Due to my condition, we weren't planning to stay the night, but they insisted. And for some reason, her daughter and her family wasn't there, so we had to deal with my mother-in-law ourselves. It was getting dark out, and it started snowing a lot. We had no choice but to stay the night. I filled up the bathtub. Go ahead, Allie. What? What is it? Like I said before, I'm allergic to water, so... You can't even take a bath? That's why you stink. Go wash up now.
Mom, stop it! She doesn't smell. Apologize to her.
I can't shower, but I still clean myself using a towel. And as for my hair...
That's enough. You don't have to explain yourself to her.
Ugh, whatever. Just clean yourself up. So my husband started wringing out the towel I always use. I headed over to the shower room to wipe myself down. Then the door opened. Unbelievable! You must really hate taking a shower. Oh, it smells terrible! The entire house smells like you, Allie! Get in the bathtub now! Bam! Splash! Ah! Help me, Alex!
What's going on?
He got me out of the tub and dried me up, but it was too late. I started getting rashes all over my body. Oh no! Her skin is all red!
Mom, why did you do this?
Hey, call an ambulance! When she pushed me in, I swallowed some water too. I was getting rashes on my throat too. I could barely breathe. I was drifting in and out of consciousness. When they took me into the ambulance, I passed out. I woke up in the hospital bed.
What the hell is wrong with you? Why didn't you tell me that she was allergic to water?
It can't be true. There's no such thing as water allergy. She's lying.
Are you serious? Look what you did to her. If I knew she was allergic to water, I never would have asked her to come over.
What do you mean?
Your sister was supposed to come over today, but the last time they were here, my wife fed the kid some pudding. The kid was allergic to eggs. Her parents told us not to feed her anything, but she did it anyways.
What? What happened?
She was hospitalized. And now this?
I didn't think it was real. I really thought she was making it up. And as for our granddaughter, she probably caught a cold or something.
You just never apologize, do you? You're always like this.
Fine, Mom, you know what? I'm done with you. I'm cutting all ties with you.
What? No, please! I'll apologize, please!
I'm done with you too. I want a divorce.
What? You're kidding, right?
No! After what you did, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm ashamed that it took this long for me to realize.
I'm too old to live on my own. I don't want to be alone, please!
Wow, see, all you care about is yourself. After everything you did, get the hell out. Never show yourself in front of me again.
I was able to go home 3 days later. Then, after paying us for damages, they got a divorce. He was nice enough to give her half of everything. But I heard she's a shut-in now. I guess the divorce hit her pretty hard. She was broke and miserable. I heard she doesn't even shower anymore. After all those things she said to me, good riddance, I guess. A month later, Alex's sister and her family came over to our house and we had a little get-together. It was so much fun! Can't wait for them to come back again. Ah, peace at last.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.